So, whichever place you come from in this beautiful world, all of us always have that American dreams because we are saw the fact that when you go to America, it's likely that you're gonna accomplish your goals. So, what's happening in the recent years? Let's take a look.
Hi guys, I'm really stressed today. I just went to the grocery store, bought 10 items, and it was $80 freaking dollars already. I literally have $10 left on my account. So a little backstory. I got laid off from my job a month ago. And I've been applying for jobs months before I got laid off. Sent out hundreds of resumes already. Applied to hundreds of jobs on the internet, remote and on-site. Tailored my resume to every position that I applied using ChatGPT. Went to only a few interviews. And still nothing. Like, what the fuck is going on with America right now? Like, it's so freaking hard to live here. Like, I'm gonna stay positive. I'm gonna keep applying for jobs. I'm gonna keep showing up. But man, my bills are not going to wait.
Here's what Trump's second term is really doing to Americans. This is what it actually looks like in American daily life right now. Higher grocery bills, lost health coverage, retirement portfolio losses, delayed mail, delayed travel, unsafe water, unaffordable student debt, evictions, rising homelessness, school closure, overcrowded classrooms, longer ER wait times, more unsafe working conditions, public transit cutbacks, risky air travel, fewer food inspections, weaker disaster response, higher energy costs, censorship of public data, fewer civil rights. That's your rent, your health, your paycheck, your kid's school, your new life. The new American dream.
The American dream is to get the F out of America. I'm in Japan right now, and I can't even tell you how much better Japan is compared to America. The food is so fresh here. Like, even the food that you get at, like, the convenience store tastes better than any restaurant would in America. Not just that, but it's, like, super safe, too, if you're a woman. Like, you could literally just leave your Chanel bag on the table, like, at a coffee shop or a restaurant, and no one's gonna steal it. Like, it was so funny. The other day, I actually saw a woman who just left her Birkin bag like on a table at the coffee shop, and she just like left it there and went to the bathroom, and it was still there when she came back. And people just have a lot more respect for each other. I feel like every time I come to America or I'm in America, it's just like fight or flight mode. Like, everyone hates each other, everyone's against each other, everyone's pitting one another against another. And honestly, like, it's just so expensive even to live in America. Like, I live in Miami and I'm about to pay like $5,000 per month on rent, and I'm just like, why am I doing this to myself just to live in like a tiny ass home that overlooks a little bit of the ocean? It just doesn't make any sense. I think the goal for the future is to make the American dollars move out, do your own thing, and just live in another country. Because it's becoming very clear at this point that America just doesn't care about us.
Yeah, it kind of just seems like cost of living is skyrocketing across the board, but none of our wages are increasing at the same rate to reflect that. Any of the high-paying jobs that maybe would be able to keep up all require a higher education, and that's either unaffordable or would put you in crippling debt for the rest of your life.
Right.
And while you're trying to pay off that debt, you also have to keep up with the rising costs of necessary things like healthcare and groceries, and God forbid you try to buy a home and start a family.
Yeah.
Leaving the entire lower to middle working class to be slaves to shareholder value before we're inevitably replaced by AI, causing us to live in a state of scarcity and day-to-day struggle, and the very people that we supposedly elected to represent us then use that to pin us against each other so that we're too distracted to realize they're helping the mega wealthy elites obtain massive amounts of wealth and resources in ways that are all pretty much unethical and frankly illegal, but they're so rich that they're above any repercussions, you know? And it's kind of like, what do you suggest we do about that? So get this, we're thinking Katy Perry in space. Oh, why didn't you say that earlier? Right? Okay, sorry about everything I just said. I thought things were bad. No, things are great. No, it turns out things are awesome. Things are great. Check this out. Oh my God, yeah. Imagine this on a rocket, right?
I don't know if I should be saying this right now, but y'all do know the American dream is a scam. No, seriously, like, who said, you know, a 3,000 square foot house, 2 kids, a dog, a big backyard with a white picket fence up front? Who said that is the standard to living? Seriously, because I've seen people living in tiny homes, boats, even cars, and you cannot tell them that they're not happy. Personally, my family and I, we've lived in an RV for over 3 years. And again, you cannot tell us that we're not happy. We've had farms, lakes, the woods as our backyard. And honestly, just this way of living has been so peaceful and such a journey for us and our family. Check out our page and give us a follow. We share tons of videos on our lifestyle. But not only do we make these videos to inspire you guys, but we've also wrote a whole book about it because this lifestyle is attainable to anyone.
I think a lot of people would say that my life story is the embodiment of the American dream. I was born to a single mom. We were poor for most of my childhood, faced a lot of hardship, a lot of adversity. We were homeless at times. Eventually, towards the end of high school, her substance abuse, her mental health took a decline. I started living on my own at 17. We were estranged, yada, yada, yada. I worked really hard my whole life, did well in school, got almost a full ride to BC, graduated right out of school. I had a 6-figure job. I would say I'm pretty successful now. So you might think I would sit here and say, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Work hard. The American dream is real. Hell no, it's not. It's not real. And part of it's real, but it is built on so much privilege and luck. And no one ever talks about that part. And I have so many stories I can share about how I made it by the skin of my teeth. And to this day, I'm still fighting so hard because it's hard to support yourself fully on your own and have no family as a backup. And all those stories are in the book that I'm writing and hopefully will have out one day. But today I thought I would focus on the stars that aligned and the luck I had that allowed me to be successful, because people always say like, why can't this person just work harder, blah, blah, blah. There's so many things that get in the way, and there's so many things in areas where I lucked out that allowed me to like achieve the American dream. And I wanted to address those and why other people aren't in the same position I'm in or other successful people are. Because yes, there are a lot of people that are born into poor families and make it out and are rich and are wealthy, but there's way more people that are born into the same fate, work as hard or even harder, and don't get the same results. So my number one privilege, education. So first of all, I was born and raised Massachusetts. Best education in the country. I couldn't afford to go to a private school, obviously, so I went to public schools. I also happened to luck out and that I went to Grafton Public Schools and Tantasco Public Schools, which are both really good school systems. They had AP classes, they had honors classes, National Honor Society, college prep. If I had gotten to a school where the education wasn't as good, there weren't as many class offerings, they didn't help me apply to college, who knows where I'd be. And not only the school systems, like my mom, she fell off a little bit towards the end of my childhood, but she was a great mom when I was younger. And she read to me every night, and she taught me how to do math. And she told me, like, you will go to college no matter what. She was the first in her family to go to college. She didn't even graduate. I'm a first generation college graduate. And that's because of my mom. And some people don't have parents that tell them that or sit down with them and teach them how to do things. And side note, reading is supposed to be taught by parents, not by teachers. So anyways, I lucked out in the education department. Number two, I'm an only child. And you might be thinking, like, why does that matter? But I didn't have any younger siblings to support or parents to support. So to back that up a little bit, I'm an only child. I always think about how when I was 5 years old, my mom had just married my stepdad and asked me, do you want a younger sibling? I don't know if she listened to me specifically, but I said no. And I'm like, thank God, because imagine if when I was supporting myself on my own, putting myself through college, working all these shifts at a restaurant, whatever, if I also had a sibling who was 6 years younger than me, who my mom couldn't take care of, I would have felt the burden to take care of them. And I know so many people who are the oldest child or have younger siblings and don't go to college so they can stay in their hometown and work and support their younger siblings. I was so lucky not to have that. And also with my mom, like, I supported us for a while, and then when I was 17, I was like, I'm out. I'm living on my own. I'm done supporting you. I gave her some money here and there. And this, like, I'm not proud of this. This eats me up. Sometimes I think I should have supported her more. It's a very complicated situation, but, like, I wasn't supporting my mom at the end of the day. Some people have to support their parents or help their parents pay the bills. So I was very privileged in that I was only supporting myself. Lastly, I'm white. And maybe you're thinking like, oh, the race card, blah, blah. No, I'm not even going to dive into the whole like systemic racism and how I benefited from that. I'm just going to talk about how I was doing some shady stuff. Mainly it was because I was poor and I was fighting for my life. But for example, I got pulled over for driving without insurance. I got pulled over for driving with a suspended license. I got pulled over after buying weed in a Cumbies parking lot, and I didn't really get in trouble for any of it. And I think a large part of that is like, look at me, like innocent, white, redhead girl. I got away with murder. And who's to say, like, maybe if I was black, if I was a person of color, maybe everything would be the same. I doubt it would be. And I know that in high school, when I was on welfare, when I was homeless, people audibly would make comments to me like, oh, look at that, like, poor girl on food stamps, whatever, because they like dressed worse than me, because they were a person of color, whatever. So I benefited infinitely from that. And the list goes on and on and on. I could talk about how I'm not disabled, how I'm not undocumented, whatever. My point is that the American dream, it's real for some people. Hard work can get you places, but only to a certain extent. And this country is systemically built for the rich to benefit, for the white to benefit, for a certain class of people to benefit. And I think we've lost sight of the true American dream of everyone being equal, everyone having opportunity, and not just a select few.
I honestly don't know how people 18 to 30 right now are just going to work and acting like nothing's happening. This is going to be a deep dive into the modern American dream and what people need to realize if they're young in their career right now. And if you are just doom scrolling, go ahead and go to the next one. But if you are actually serious about taking career advice from someone who has left a $300K a year corporate job to run their own business in 2025, let's talk. I just want to give you a little bit of context as to where we are at and mapping this to past trends in the US. My mom's parents, my dad's parents, neither of them went to college. They grew up in a small town, a manufacturing town back when the United States was the manufacturing capital of the world. And what happened when I go to their towns now, which is a small town in Indiana and a small town in South Carolina, there's a graveyard of factories that are completely empty. They have been deteriorating for 20 to 30 years. Right now, if you are 18 to 35, we are just like our grandparents who are working at a factory. There's a clear path. Maybe you're in tech and there's a high-paying job. You can save money, you can live a good lifestyle. But you know what just happened? And this is the same shit as our grandparents experienced is, hey, they're working at the Ford factory and it's going great. But you know what? GM just announced they're moving their facilities to China. And oh, that's okay. Hey, Cursor is replacing the need for engineers at tech companies. Some of the biggest investment banks in the world are forecasting a recession, but hey, it hasn't hit me yet. I'm making $150K. I'm just going to save 10% more this month. The same exact shit is happening right now, guys. And if you are 18 to 35, you have two choices. You can hold on to your slightly above average, higher than normal paying job, and you can wait 3 to 5 years until you finally get cut, and then you've got to figure it out when you're even more entrenched in your lifestyle, or you can actually start building or changing careers right now. If you have the ability to go really deep on the technical side and you understand that world, maybe that's a path for you. But if not, and I'm dead serious, guys, you need to learn how to sell right now. I don't see a path in 2050 and beyond where almost any type of job is still in demand. Now, sure, there's going to be programmers, there's going to be analysts, there's going to be lots of different, traditionally high-paying roles, but with how much software is doing, there's going to be less of those jobs available because AI is going to be a co-pilot and making those jobs execute much faster with less people. And additionally, the pay bands for those, which right now a highly skilled software engineer can still command 400 to 500K, that is going to slow down, and overall, on average, that is going to come down further and further. There is no advantage anymore in being a great programmer like there was between 2000 and 2020, where if you were the first person to market, you made the first Uber of whatever, you had a real chance of building a successful, fast-growing business. That is commoditized. I built a ChatGPT bot yesterday in an hour that automated 5 hours of work per week, and I don't even know how to program. So if you do not know how to sell, I recommend getting an entry-level sales job at a reputable company, especially if you have a solid background, so you can just understand the skills of how to carry a one-on-one conversation, how to sell a higher ticket item business to business, and or maybe you don't necessarily want to do that if you are not learning how to play the social media game, if you are not trying to build a YouTube, a TikTok, or an Instagram. Just pick one. You don't have to do all three at the beginning, but if you are not learning that, guys, I don't see a future where 10 years from now, you're going to have a real chance to compete against AI and so many jobs.
Can somebody explain to me in crayon eating terms why I make over 3 times the federal minimum wage and I cannot afford to live?
I know he kind of answered the question himself in his own video, but I want to highlight one thing he briefly mentioned and talk about it, which is that the American dream is dead. Yes, the traditional American dream, which is like doing better than your parents and being able to provide a lot for your family, is dead, or at least it's changed. Because there are many of us that are well aware that we will never be able to make as much money as our parents did. And I think my mother, who is a boomer and benefited directly from the system in place, said it best when she once said, roughly, that the American dream has changed. It's become very apparent to everyone that in this economy, Gen Z, millennials, and some Gen Xers, many of us will not be able to do better than our parents. We won't even be able to do as well as our parents. And now the American dream has become just being able to get by, being able to maybe afford a house at some point, maybe have a kid or two if we're lucky enough to make that much money. And a lot of us, myself included, who has now experienced company financial related layoffs twice so far in the last 2 years since I've entered the job market. You know, those of us who feel like we're constantly in fight or flight about bills and how we're going to keep making it by, it's making us miserable and feel so hopeless. And yes, I could sit here all day and show you graphs of how inflation is going up, and while wages are going up, it's just not matching inflation. So it feels like we're all just constantly working and working, and the goalpost just keeps getting moved further and further away from us. And yeah, it has a lot of us extremely stressed and worried and feel like just giving up because we're constantly running a race where the finish line is getting moved further out. And I think it's obvious that we're all just really exhausted by it now. I know I am. I'm constantly hitting a wall with all of this. And a lot of us have to wake up every day blatantly knowing we will never do as well as our parents did. And we just have to try to make it, somewhat close to that. I'm sorry. My dad passed away several years ago on this date. So I'm just thinking about him, and sometimes I feel like he'd be proud of me, but sometimes I feel like he'd be very disappointed. But he was also an extremely intelligent businessman with multiple degrees, so I think he, more than anyone, would really understand what we're all feeling right now.
Listen, if you still want to come to America because you believe in the American dream, let me tell you something. That dream died 30 plus years ago, and now we're living in a dream that involves paying $10 for a dozen of shitty fucking eggs, paying $2,000 a month for an apartment in the ghetto that's about 700 square feet and it has no walls. And then if you want to go to university here, you're looking at around $100,000 for a 4-year education. That's on the low end. But in those 4 years, you might get shot because everyone seems to want to shoot each other for some ungodly reason. Then you're going to graduate thinking, oh, I graduated, I have a degree now, I'm going to get a good job. Your good job is going to pay you about $40,000 starting off, maybe, and then they're going to say you're going to work 40 hours a week. When in reality, you're going to be working about 50 plus hours a week because they're going to guilt trip you in by saying, we're a family, we're a team, we help each other. And they're not going to pay you overtime for that because why would they? If they get your help for free, why would they pay you for that? Okay? Then there's no work-life balance. That company you're working for now doesn't want to give you vacation days until maybe your second year working there. And those vacation days are maybe 4 days out of the whole entire year. That includes holidays. All right? Then if you're sick, too bad, you still have to come to work. Okay? Then if you want to buy groceries, your groceries are going to be your whole entire paycheck because no one can afford to eat here anymore. God, I go to the grocery store for 4 things. It's $50. I'm just saying it sucks living here. I don't want to live here. I want to leave. So maybe you should rethink your whole American dream because it's not what it's all cracked up to be.
They don't tell you what American dream, but let me tell you some of the things. Working 40 hours a week or bi-weekly, that's American dream. Getting some of your money taken away by taxes, by the government, every week or every other week or monthly when you get paid. That's an American dream. Paying a mortgage or buying a house, which is called a mortgage here, that you would never ever own, even if you pay for that house, because even if you buy that house or not, you still have to pay taxes on that property, that land that house is staying on. That's the American dream. We don't own anything in this country, just so you know that. That's the American dream. Okay? Having children and the government is able to make decision on what you do or how you discipline your children. That's the American dream. Being in jail for stupid things.
Well, it might be true that the American dream has really died, but this is what I think about it. While things are changing in the world, so do our perspective. We need to rethink about the American dream and how you perceive it. Obviously, the world is going in a different direction and most of us appear to be exhausted chasing the traditional way or the traditional approach that you have visualized since you are young. And the American dream might not be realized in this approach. It's a tricky one still, but let me know what you think about this whole thing. Do you think the American dream still exists, or do you think it's just not happening? Let me know in the comment section.